All right, guys, welcome so much, or thank you so much, and welcome to Music Hustler Live. I think this is the 11th one that we've done, which is awesome. Liz is a great friend of mine. Thank you so much for coming, Liz. Her and I have a really cool history. We used to play together back when I lived in Hollywood, and we did dueling piano gigs together. We performed at everywhere from, I mean, those were cool nights. Sometimes there'd be like 200 or 300 people there, and then little restaurants where there'd be like 15 people there. So we've done just about everything. So thanks so much for being here, Liz.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm glad that you asked. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really cool group of people. Sounds like from what Kristine told me, all of you guys in the group are very talented. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I told you, I had mentioned that there's so much talent here. And sometimes I think everyone's told, like I mentioned to you before, everyone's told that you have to have like a zillion followers, or you have to have a record deal, or you have to have a ton of money, and, all those things. And just like in our circle of friends, so many of us are very successful in music and don't have any of those things. We're making
I don't have any of those things.
yeah, making out all those things. So I like to share stories of, people like yourself who are just doing amazing, despite not having that. So I really wanted to chat about that today. So everybody, this is Liz. If you guys want to follow her, she is Liz Fohl on Instagram. I will show you her Instagram, which was something that I told you I was going to do, because right there she is. So Liz Fohl, you can follow her, Lizfohl.
I think I'm wearing the same shirt in my
Okay, there you go. You might be. You are wearing a black t-shirt there. So Liz, like I said, we started performing together many years ago. I don't know how long it's been now, Liz. Like what, 5 years?
Yeah, 6 maybe.
Yeah, maybe even 6 years. We were performing at this place in Hollywood called Howl at the Moon, which is pretty cool. And when we were both performing, and then Liz was also writing and, slowly building up her career as getting her music synced and placed in TV shows and that sort of thing. And we're going to talk about kind of her journey and how she got there. Because when COVID hit, a lot of musicians were completely out of work, especially the musicians that were just relying on performing for a living. They all went on unemployment. I mean, I don't know how many of your friends, Liz, but I know a ton of my musician friends were like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but what was great was, Liz had always wanted to already do syncing and get her music on more full time, right? Doing that like more as a primary form of income, and was able to do that. So we're going to talk about that today, Liz. So first, I just wanted to show you guys, Liz has, and I always did this, I told you I was going to do this. Liz has 2,600 friends on Instagram. We've talked about how everyone says you have to have a zillion followers on Instagram and Spotify and all these things. Liz makes more money than most people that have 1 million followers on Instagram. Like that's just the truth. So I have so many, I told you, Liz, I have a friend that has a billion plays on YouTube and doesn't make money from music. So
I think on my YouTube, I've got 30 subscribers, and I haven't posted a video in a year and a half. Like I think maybe total out of all of my views, I have 2,000. So it's like nothing.
Right. Yeah. And this is such a common like misconception so that people have, and especially getting your, like I would say probably almost of all things, like getting your music on film and all that has nothing to do with followers.
Correct.
Yeah. So, all right. So I want to talk to you about just how you got your start, really. Was it something that you kind of decided that you wanted to do already, or was it something that you kind of fell into?
Kind of a little bit of both. So I did study music. I went to college for music. I dropped out of that college and to come out to LA and do music. So I've always been a writer. I've always written songs, much like I'm sure most of you. It's like just picking up a guitar or picking up not picking up a piano. That'd be cool. Or just sitting down and writing a lot of like journaling and poetry and stuff like that. So I've been writing since I was a little kid, and I knew that was something that I wanted to do. So when I studied that, I thought mostly it was going to be writing for me as an artist. And then when I moved out to Los Angeles, I realized, oh, I can write for other artists, and I can write songs for TV and commercial and for all these other things that I don't have to release as an artist. So I still do from time put out some of my own music, original music, but there's I found this whole world of writing music for other people's stuff, and that was kind of by accident, and I was like, oh, I love this. So yeah, I just gigging a lot, but that's at nights, and on weekends mostly. And so every day I was writing, and I was co-writing, did so much co-writing with people. And I was doing singing for people. People needed like a session vocalist for that, or people needed a guitarist for this. And I would just collaborate with as many people as I could.
How did you find some of those people that needed like co-writers, and how did you find those people to collaborate?
Some of it was other students that went to the school that I went to that all moved out. Others were songwriting, like local Facebook groups. And
I was about to say that, because I remember you had put me onto Facebook groups, which I hadn't been on. I remember you were
on the Facebook I actually group. Find a lot of cool opportunities on them. The trick is like, you're going to see 300, people are going to post 300 things a week, and maybe 2 of them are helpful or legitimate. But I'll scroll through them. I'll have it pop up if I'm on Facebook. And then, if someone's, I wrote this song and we need a singer who can sound like Taylor Swift, who can record at home, or who can come in and do this or whatever. So if it was something that I was capable of doing, I'd reach out and say, hey, so-and-so, I can do that. Let's do it. So I just said yes to a lot of things. I went to a lot of like coffee shop open mics or singer-songwriters nights, and to perform, but also just to listen and to meet people. Like, oh, I really like your style, I'd love to write with you. But yeah, I think especially now with COVID, there's so many online communities that you can be a part of. And that's for songwriting and co-writing and stuff, very specifically for people looking for collaborators. But there's some great Facebook groups specifically for music sync and getting your music in TV and stuff too.
Oh, awesome. And I know that it's funny because actually last week I was talking on this specific subject on how I just said yes to a lot of things, like just that alone, how far that will get you. And, and 9 out of 10 things might not be that productive, or it might not produce anything amazing. But if 1 out of 10 things does, that could be life-changing. That could be that producer that you meet that now you're, create your next album with, or that could be a booking agent or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But that's
huge definitely been the case for me. Is like, I don't know, I did session vocals, or I co-wrote with that like 1,000 people. And maybe that was a one-time thing, or, oh, that song nothing happened with that song. But 3 of those people ended up being people that I've written with for the last 10 years of my life. And that we get these placements on TV now. So I totally agree with just saying yes to stuff, or even working at the bar, playing at the bar where we met. Like, I said yes to that before I probably should have said. Like, it was scary to say yes to that. And that led to.
And by the way, you only knew like 2 songs when you said yes, right?
Yeah. And I didn't really play piano, but like, I really needed a job. I had overdrafted on groceries the week prior and was like, well, now I got to move home, but I knew how to play like really basic, C, G, like really basic chord shapes. And so I knew that there were some songs out there that only used a couple chords, and I was comfortable on stage and comfortable singing. So yeah, I went out for this audition for this bar, and they ended up then, great, you start next week. And I went, oh crap, now I have to learn a bunch of songs. And then
and an
you
instrument.
just say yes.
And an instrument, by the way.
Yeah. And you just say yes. And then, okay, I know these 4 chords. What songs have just those 4 chords? And there's a ton. So you learn a couple, enough to get you through next week. And then you learn some more and you learn some more. But I'm definitely a huge fan of just like saying yes to things and then doing the work to back it up.
And then also just the act of doing anything, just being active, like whether it's releasing music, you going into these open mics, you talking and networking with everyone, just doing it. And even if it's not perfect, just like you said, you only knew 2 songs. When I got my first gig, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Liz, but I knew 1 song. I knew one song, and then I told them that I could play for 4 hours by myself. And so I learned, they gave me 2 weeks. I started in 2 weeks, and then I learned, like 40 songs or whatever.
Wow.
And then, got started 2 weeks later, but I only knew 1 song, and I told them I knew more. So it's kind of the same thing, a really similar situation. I didn't have to learn an instrument. I almost feel like you get more kudos for that, because that's a whole other.
Yeah. I mean, I think the important thing is, yes, say yes to things, but then you have to do the work, in your downtime, so that if an opportunity comes up, you can say yes to it. And then if you do say yes to something, do the work so that you do a good job. So I think it's kind of what's that quote? Luck is
preparation
meets opportunity or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why that's in a nutshell is the reason why I pay bills with music.
Right.
So.
Well, and I was thinking today because I had met someone that was like, oh, I know like 1 or 2 songs, but I'll learn songs if the opportunity is there. And I thought, imagine if like someone agreed to surgery and then the doctor was like, well, I'm not a doctor yet, but I'll learn how to do heart surgery if you agree to. No, you have to already know the skill. You have to already do the time. And then, people will be interested, like do the work, even if you don't know what's going to come of it,
Yeah. Cause what if someone says, I need a last minute sub tomorrow. You need to be able to be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then maybe that becomes a regular gig and, you're playing this, steakhouse gig 2 or 3 nights a week. And now you can quit your day job. Like, yeah, you got to be ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, you were performing. I know you said you, and by the way, everyone that's taking notes, she said a few key things. Those Facebook groups have been really valuable. There's tons of Facebook groups. I've shown you guys how to look those up, you can write songwriters or, syncing. You could type in any of those producers. There's tons of different groups that you guys can join. People post stuff all the time. Like they post looking for a keyboard player or, hey, does anyone have any songs that's, R&B-ish songs to submit to this opportunity? Like there's always stuff coming up in their site.
Tons and tons. And use the search tool. So I see a lot of people who come on and they're like, hi, I'm new to the group. How do I get my music in TV? And it's like, oh, this group has existed for years and has like, it's an encyclopedia of knowledge. So before you post anything like that, use the search tool on that page and you'll just see like so many questions answered. And then you don't have to like walk in and kind of announce to everyone that you don't know what you're talking about yet. So use the search tool.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as you were starting out, like performing and you had started, generating income with music, how was it that you started getting into the film thing? Was it like you responded to like an ad? Did you reach out to publishing companies? I mean, we talked a little bit, you mentioned there was a producer. I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, it was kind of multiple things at once, which is so great to have like multiple, I know you talk about multiple income streams, but just doing a lot. So one of them was somebody that a friend of a friend said, hey, you should write with this guy, Peter. So Peter and I wrote a song one day and said, hey, this is really fun. We should do this again. We ended up writing, Peter and I have probably written 300 songs. And then, a year later, Peter said, hey, I was in a session with Ian and we need a vocalist. Can you come in and do it? And then that went well. And then so I started writing with Peter and Ian. And that was, I think, the first instance of a placement that I got was because this Ian guy had connections that I didn't have. But now suddenly my network was doubled. So collaboration was a big one. Reaching out to music libraries is a big one. And then my first like film placement was a student film project. And it was somebody that I knew from high school. And another one was a friend of a friend, or you see it on one of these pages, say, hey, I would love to make some music for your film for really cheap. Because I'm just getting started and connecting with people who might need music. So it's kind of a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And when it comes to actually contacting like music supervisors and music publishing libraries, there's some like tricks that we can talk about later, but there's some like specific things that you should keep in mind when you're doing that.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like what you're saying, like to start off with is one, you were just really active. You said yes to a lot of things. And then the more active you became, the more people that you worked with, even if it didn't necessarily pay a lot up front, or even if you had to do it for free up front, those opportunities led to meeting more people.
Yes.
More along the lines. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've actually found, even when I first moved to LA, a lot of my first, because I didn't know anybody out there. And,
yeah, me neither.
So I didn't know anyone, but I even said yes to a lot of things on Craigslist. And I'll tell you guys really quick, I said yes, and this was random because I was just trying to pay bills. So there was a random gig that had nothing to even do with music, but I was out passing out flyers for a company. I think they paid me like $75 or something. And I don't even know if I've shared this with you, Liz, but And then the guy, because I was always speaking about music, you know, we're always talking about, I'm a musician. And this was always something that I think is important for us to say. Like, even if you're waitressing at a restaurant, tell people that you're a musician, because nobody's going to ask you if you do music. You have to tell them. And I remember I was telling this guy, he owned the company and he was from Australia. And he said, you know, I was looking for an entertainer. I gave him a CD and he called me and he said, I was looking for an entertainer for my corporate shows in Australia. And he's like, would you want to perform? Well, like a month later, I went on tour in Australia because he owned companies all over the continent of Australia. So now I'm all of a sudden on tour in Australia. Like, it was just the most amazing thing ever, but just constantly speaking and doing what it is that you're trying to do, even if it's on small levels. I mean, I was just on the streets passing out flyers, but
Yeah.
I was still talking about how I'm a musician, you know, on those.
Yeah, I got connected with a filmmaker who's very connected out here because I was talking to like his aunt on a plane. And you're like, oh, you're going to Portland? And I was like, yeah, what are you going? She's like, I'm visiting my new niece. And I'm like, oh, that's great. What do you do? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm a musician. We were just chatting on the plane. I didn't know who her connections were or whatever. I've gotten actually several, like multiple gigs and one or two great connections off of like chatting with someone on a plane.
On a plane. Yeah, it's so crazy. And there was actually, I was on a plane I was in Dallas, and there was an engineer who ended up, I think he I forget who he signed with, but I was writing with him too. But again, it was just one of those things, we happened to like sit down, and I started talking to him and was like, hey, sit with me on the plane. And he sat with me on the plane and we just talked, and then ended up in recording sessions. But I think I think the big thing is, I think everyone always wants like a step-by-step, like this is how you do it from A to Z. But I don't think our career ever happens like that. It's always just like
the metaphor that I use is like, there's some like lines of careers in life that like it is a ladder of, oh, you do this and then you do this and then this is where you end up. Mine, the image that I always thought of was like, it's a bowl of spaghetti and you like follow a noodle around.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I know it can feel like really chaotic and you're like, well, you know, where do I start? What do I do next? And it's kind of like, for me, and not for everybody, but for me, it's work to be like, all right, I'm going to try some of this and I'm going to try that. And I'm going to learn about this thing and I'm going to say yes to that. And then you realize it's not really chaotic. You've been cross training and now you've got all of the muscles in your body are like ready for it instead of just doing this one thing. So.
Right. Now you've gotten some cool placements. And by the way, guys, we're going to get into some real specifics on some things that Liz recommends, and how to submit and who to submit to and what to send and all that kind of stuff when we get there. But you've been on some cool things. So I had saw that you posted, because I saw the trailer for Love is Blind, where the people are like, I don't know if you guys have seen this. And by the way, we are going to open this up for Q&As here in a little while, guys. So don't worry, because I've seen a few questions come through. But I saw that there's like I guess they get married and they're in like, they never see each other or something. Like
they like talk, there's like a screen and they can only talk to each other with this screen in between. And then after like 6 weeks or whatever, they see each other. They like, she's in a dress and he's in a tux, and they like are getting married and they drop the screen, and that's the first time they see each other. It's very dramatic.
Wow. Yeah. So Danny says, I saw that show. Yeah. Well, Liz, her music has actually been on that show. And I think you said you didn't know yet, and you were watching the show and you're like, oh wait, I think that's my song in the background.
Yeah. That was very funny.
Yeah. And so
I was like, wait, I know that. Why do I know the next line of that song? And I'm like, oh, wait, that's my voice. It was very cool.
And that's funny, because I think what a lot of people don't know is, so once you get, like, the process is, sure, you didn't know that it got placed, but you're still getting paid for it because of the way you've registered it and everything. But can you talk about how like the libraries work and everything, and how people, you know, choose music from that library and how that happens? Like sometimes you might write a song this year and it might get placed 3 years from now, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we just had another placement with a show called Who Killed Sarah on Netflix, and they used like a full minute of the song, which is long for a placement, and it's like I'm like belting and singing, and I wrote that song with a friend like 7 years ago, so I totally forgotten about it. So it was a long time ago. So there's a couple of different ways that it happens, and one of them is through like music publishing companies. So For the Love is Blind placement, that was through BMG. So my relationship with BMG is they'll call me a couple times a year and say, hey, we think we want some songs that sound like XYZ. So the last batch that I did for them, they wanted songs that kind of felt and sounded like Driver's License. So sometimes someone's asking me for something specific. Other times I just writing songs that I, are my sound and that I'm good at. And then I'm submitting them to different publishing houses. So some major ones are called Crucial is a major one. There's another one called Scorekeepers. And if you go on these Facebook groups, you'll see,
oops. Hold on. I don't know why we can't hear you anymore, Liz.
Is that,
oh, there we
back?
go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so there's sometimes if you get enough rapport with someone, they'll start asking you for things, but for the most part, you're gonna write these songs. They're gonna be radio ready, which means they sound like they're not demos, they sound like radio ready. And then you're sending them to people and they put them in their library. And then sometimes you get a placement right away and sometimes they sit there for a while. But then these TV shows who have an agreement with this library will say, I've got this Love is Blind show and there's this scene and I need it to feel really triumphant. So they'll go into this publishing database and say, cool, I want female vocal, triumphant, happy, and hit enter. And then they'll get, 10 options or 1,000 options, and they'll go through the songs and say, oh, this one's perfect, let's use this one. And then they put that song in the thing. And since we've registered the songs, I've registered the songs as I'm the writer, and whatever the publishing split is with the agreement with the library, and all libraries are a little different. Then I get royalties from that, like down the road. Normally it takes 12 to 18 months to see that money, but it's going to come in. So it's important that you guys get registered for what's called a PRO, or a performing rights organization. So the two major ones are called ASCAP, AESCAP, and BMI. ASCAP and BMI, and I think ASCAP is like $50, and BMI might be free. But that's going to be step one, because if your song gets in a TV show and you're not registered and you haven't registered yourself as the writer of that song, the money goes and just sits in a pile waiting for you to grab it. So that's definitely, it's called a performance rights organization. If you Google it, just Google PRO songwriter, something like that. So yeah, and then there's a bunch of information on people who really say you should go with BMI, you should go with ASCAP. I'm with ASCAP. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like Coke or Pepsi. It's a personal preference. So
yeah, so that's a good one. So that's a great point. So they're the ones that collect the money for you and distribute to you. So, and they're the ones that if you get radio play, if you get any of those things, they're going to let you know what you're getting placed on. And even though the money doesn't come for a little while, you get paid because it's going through these trusted organizations. So write that down, guys, if you're not registered, BMI or ASCAP. I'm actually with CSAC. I was with ASCAP.
CSAC is good too.
Yeah, so I switched with them because I know the president of the company, and they connected me with different producers.
CSAC is still invite only, I think, right?
Yeah, it's invite only. Yeah. But that was advantageous for me because of other reasons, because of
a personal connection. Yeah. Yes, and the other way it happens, instead of just like pitching and crossing your fingers, is working with a sync agent, and they're actively like, all right, I've got 5 of Kristine's songs and I love them, and I know that they would go really well in Grey's Anatomy. So she's that sync agent is contacting the music supervisor who puts all the music in Grey's Anatomy and saying like, you got to use these songs. These are great for it. And they're actively like hustling for your specific music. And those are great. I don't work with a sync agent just because I've got enough going on without them. They will take normally 30% of the upfront fee, which means, you get this placement in a commercial and it pays $5,000, or it can pay, if it's a major commercial, $20,000 or $30,000, they'll take part of that upfront fee for doing the work to like hustle you and get you in that door. And then you'll still collect royalties off of that. Sometimes they'll take a little chunk of royalties, and you just negotiate those kind of terms down the road. But those are kind of the the main ways that it happens.
And by the way, everyone that's here, you have access to, I have a list of publishing companies that have like agents and that sort of thing in there. So those are kind of what she's talking about. Like if you don't know anybody and you haven't connected with anybody, those are actually really good. And we've talked about Submit Hub, and I've gotten a lot of my music has been pitched because I specifically put that I was looking for publishing companies, agents that do specifically that, and went on Submit Hub. I don't know how often you use Submit Hub, Liz, but I've had some pretty good luck with it.
I haven't used it for placements. I've used it for like getting press about original music, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, so I specifically reached out to like just companies that did that, and then now have pretty cool relationships.
That's great. And then I'd say like, if that sounds intimidating of like, oh, I've got this music and I need to like submit it to publishing companies. I know that sounds really scary. I would say probably 80 to 90% of the people who are submitting to these publishing companies don't have personal connections to it. So you guys shouldn't be scared of like, well, I need to wait till I know someone, or you have to know someone. Like, of course that helps, but you definitely don't need to. So I would just go for it. The worst that can happen is they say like, we're going to pass on that song. And then you just go submit it to somebody else and then submit it to somebody else.
Right. Now I have that list that everyone can download if you haven't already, but if they wanted to look for some on their own, I know you said you don't do that a lot because of your personal connections, but is it something that they can do? I haven't done a lot of in this world. I've told you, mine have just kind of happened to, I know someone that knows someone or whatever, but are there specific ways that they can find people that do this besides collaborate, and we're going to talk about that, collaborating with the producers, but is there another way to find like sync agents and that sort of thing?
I mean, honestly, just Googling it. There's a lot of stuff on those Facebook pages, and if people are on Clubhouse, there's a lot of rooms where people are talking about that. I think one of the tips that I was going to say is like, what TV shows are using music that sounds like my music, and then work backwards from there. Okay, it's Grey's Anatomy. Where does Grey's Anatomy get their music? And this is all stuff you can Google. Okay, it's this production house or this publishing company or that. For Grey's Anatomy, it's one specific music supervisor, and she's awesome.
So would you just go on
and
Google
then you say, cool, how do I contact her? How do I get music to her? How does she like to receive music? And tell you that the publishing companies will say, hey, if you want to submit your music, we need this kind of file. We want, they'll give you specifics, and they're not the same across the board. So making sure to do the extra work to see how people want to receive things is important. So most of that stuff you can find on Google, and I know there's a blog, Ari's Take, ARI, and he's got a great article about this that he actually just put out. So that with the resources, Kristine's list would be just an awesome place to start. So your thumbs definitely need to be radio ready before you do that.
When they're putting it in the Google search, like you said, looking for the people that supply the music for Grey's Anatomy, for example, is that what they would put in their Google search? Who supplies the music for, or publishing company for Grey's Anatomy? That's what they would do. So that's a real specific tip right there, guys. So if there's a show that has music that sounds like yours, you're listening to it going, oh man, I have, very similar music, then at that point, you would then Google and put who supplies the music for such and such show, or who's the publishing company, or who's the sync agent, or typing in all those things and see who they are. Kind of like how we've talked about before, where I told you guys how to find producers that you want to work with. You can work backwards on albums that you've liked, artists that you liked, and finding the producers, and then just reaching out to them on Instagram or LinkedIn.
And if it doesn't pop up on Google immediately, check IMDb, because the shows will have IMDb pages. And a lot of times, yeah, exactly. I saw Bella just posted that. A lot of times they'll have that. TuneFind is also a decent way to figure out like what the songs are. But I would say IMDb is also very helpful for that.
That's awesome. I actually wrote that down. I'll probably post out a few these notes that we have on the group, cool, too. Some of these great things. And then someone had asked about the Facebook groups. Guys, we were talking about if you do like a Google search. So if you actually just type in your Facebook, I'm sorry, not a Google search, but a Facebook search. If you type in producers, songwriters, sync opportunities, like type in a lot of things like that, making music for sync, you know, or movies for film or those types of things. And you'll find groups where that's what everyone's focus is. So
That's how I found them.
Yeah. So definitely do those. Those are Facebook groups. I feel like it's underrated. Like people don't talk about how advantageous they can be.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten a ton of work from that stuff, and it's a great way to find work outside of the bubble that you already know, or find, you know, if you're used to working alone or working with just one or two people, that suddenly now via that, I just wrote all the lyrics for a rock band new record in Germany. And it's like, it was a Facebook thing. They posted, hey, we need a lyricist for this style. And me plus, I don't know, probably 50 other people emailed them about it, and they picked me, and I wrote all the lyrics for it. And it was super fun. But those, yeah, just go to the search bar in Facebook, not like the URL search bar, but the little search bubble, and type sync, SYNC, or type music in film, or type, you know, I also will follow filmmakers pages that it's not specifically for music and film, but I'm seeing all these filmmakers and they're posting about film things that maybe don't have anything to do with me. And then I just stay quiet. But if someone posts like, hey, does anyone know, you know, I'm looking for music, then I'm sending you a message, you know. So keeping tabs on like who might use my music, who might want my music, and kind of spending time in those spaces physically or virtually.
Right. And we wanted to get into how to submit to them and what to submit to them. And you know, when you're contacting them, when you're sending them music, let's say someone that's never heard of you, you don't have a relationship with them whatsoever. How do you usually contact them? Like, what do you say? What do you send them? In what forms? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll kind of tell you. So if you've gone to this website for Crucial Music Publishing, they'll have a form and do that form. That's how they are telling everyone they want to receive music. So definitely, I know it sounds like a no-brainer, but following the directions is so important. I've heard so many music supervisors that say like, I don't want to get an MP3. I really only want streaming links, like they want SoundCloud or they want Spotify. And when people then send them an email with like 10 attachments in it, they're like, I'm not, immediately it's going in the trash. Like they get, you know, hundreds of emails a day. And if they had to download all these files, their computer would explode and all of these files would just get lost in the mess. So following direction is going to be like one of the most important things, and will put you like way above most other people. So that's a great thing. So yeah, I would write an email. Hey, Kristine, if you like, let's say you're the music supervisor. Hey, Kristine, I love your work on Grey's Anatomy. Always make great music choices. I am a pop writer and producer, and I have emotional building music that I think would be perfect. Here's a link. So short and sweet. I wouldn't say, hey, I can write music, tell me what you need. That's too general. Just saying like, this is my sound. Here's how you can listen to it, and send them a link to 2 songs, 3 songs, 4 songs, but not more than that. So keeping it clear and short. These people are very busy, and they're getting tons and tons of music every day. For some of them are working on 4 shows, and so they need just tons of music. So keeping it short, keeping it professional.
And SoundCloud has a great, you know, do you usually use SoundCloud or do you use Dropbox? How do you usually send like those?
I use SoundCloud, and then you can send private links too. So you can have those songs up on SoundCloud that, you know, aren't available for everyone to listen to, or, you know, if you don't want to release it yet for whatever reason. So I use SoundCloud a lot, or I'll put together playlists of like, I'm submitting to someone. I do a lot of trailer music for like spooky movies. So I've got a playlist of like, here are my 5 best examples of trailer music. Here are my 5 best examples of my pop songwriting and production. So that if I'm, you know, introducing myself to a new potential contact, I've already got that link. I don't have to like put it together. It's like, oh, I'm going to send them my pop thing, because they do pop music. Here are my 5 available songs.
So you have like kind of like playlists of
and it's all public. So if anyone wants like an example,
that would be great.
Find mine. It's Liz Fohls on SoundCloud, and I've got everything structured. You can see how I've structured playlists. So Yeah. And you should do some that like show them what your sound is, but also making sure that if you're sending a song to a music supervisor, it needs to be, this is very important, it needs to be easy clear. So the term is easy clear, which means it is easy to clear. So if I send Kristine a song for this episode of Grey's Anatomy and she loves it, she wants to put it in there, and the TV show world moves so fast, and then she's calling me to like, hey, can you sign that contract so we can use the song? And I'm like, oh, I got to talk to the co-writer, and I don't know what split the producer gets, and like the other co-writer isn't sure. A, you're going to lose that placement, and B, that lady's never going to work with you because it's not easy clear. So you need to kind of have all those ducks in a row before. So if you're the only one working on the song, it's easy clear because you're the only one who has to give a thumbs up. If you're writing with other people or bringing in a producer and stuff, that's all great. I do that all the time. Just having that conversation up front and having things in writing, even just in an email that says like, hey, Bob and I wrote this song. We're splitting everything down the middle 50-50. And if someone wants to place it, Liz is allowed to say yes for the both of us. Like just having something that says something that simple. Because if your stuff isn't easy, clear, it's not going to go anywhere. So right. That's very
and this
important.
is actually, and that's so important, like you said, because even I was just talking to a friend of mine yesterday where he did a song with another songwriter, and there was a show on HBO that wanted to use their song, but the girl's not even registered with anybody. She's not registered with BMI, with ASCAP, with nothing. But for him to get that placement, he was like, you know what, I'm just going to register it as mine. And she said she trusts me to give her share, and then we'll register it later and figure that out. But that still becomes messy. That's messy and risky.
That's a little messy and a little risky, but fine. You know, if they have a good trusting relationship, that's potential for drama down the road. Right. You know, at that point, it's like, you know, I know $50 is $50. That's not a joke to spend $50 or $100 on something. But if you're really serious about this, register with BMI or ASCAP so that if these placement opportunities come, you can register it. If you do get a placement of your song and you're not registered on those things, you can, like, if I registered today, I could still say like, oh, those songs that got placed a year ago, I can still collect those monies. So it's not the end of the world, but I think that's probably step one, is like, just sign up for a PRO.
Registration. And Scotia asked, they will have those directions posted on the website. It was a question. And in the list of publishing companies that we have, guys, their websites are there too. Go to their websites, look for a link that says how to submit your music for consideration. And then it's going to say how to do it from right there. And
I want that list.
Yeah, I know. I'll send it to you, Liz. Yeah, there's like 500 of them in there. There's
and then like keeping people updated of like, hey, you know, don't spam them. Don't send them emails every week. Don't even send them emails every month, but every 3 or 4 months, if you've got new music that you're working on, reaching out again, even if they didn't respond, saying, hey, Joe, like, I just wanted to, you know, I just put out a new EP. I think it would fit really well in your TV show. It's anthemic pop with strong drums, and sending them a link to that. Short and sweet, updating them what you're doing. Because maybe there's something on their desk, but they're like, oh, wait, that would be perfect. So it's going to take a lot of emails that you won't get responses. And when you submit to publishing companies, there's going to be a lot of rejections and stuff like that. I get those all the time. So you just got to keep doing it. And then if you're approaching a music supervisor directly, a lot of people are doing DMs on Instagram, Clubhouse. A lot of stuff is happening on Clubhouse now. But just being respectful of their time and knowing that they're getting just flooded with that all the time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I like that you said to keep your email short and sweet. Even for myself, I get people submit music for things and they send me like where they were born and like all of their ex-boyfriends' names. Not really, but do you know what I mean? Like they just give you so much information that I'm like, I don't know what to do with all of this. Like, just tell me what style of music you make, give me some links, and I'll, you know.
Yeah. Because think about what they're doing that day. It's like things are crazy, things are moving fast, and they need to find 15 songs by 5 o'clock that they can not only source, but get paperwork for and stuff like that. So they need to know like, oh, Liz, pop, female vocal, great. let's do it. Like they don't need a lot of information. And then the more information you give them, they're just going to be like, oh, this person seems maybe difficult to deal with.
Right, exactly. Or maybe they're new or they're rookies at this and that sort of thing. So she's given some really great information, guys. She said that when you do email them or you submit your music, obviously follow the instructions that they have on their website. And then when you do email them, keep it very short and sweet. Describe your music very quickly. If you add a little note that, hey, I like the work that you've done on Grey's Anatomy, they at least know that you've done your research, that you're not just submitting to everybody that says that they're a music supervisor, because that sucks. And then she said to create your libraries on SoundCloud of your music in different styles. So she has her trailers on one, she has her pop music in one. And I'm going to get that link from you because I'm going to share this with everybody once we're done to use SoundCloud so everyone can see it.
I just saw someone ask a question regarding EPKs. I don't have an updated one and I haven't sent one to anyone in years. That was more relevant for me when I was pitching myself as an artist and doing like more gigging. As far as music sync and writing for TV, I have not needed, maybe that's different for other people, but I have not needed an EPK for years.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like EPKs are really good if people are trying to find out your background, especially like as an artist, like you talked about, or even booking gigs can be helpful. And even then it's not entirely, you don't always have to have it, just certain elements of it. But for this specific thing, for syncing, they really just care about, they don't care if you have followers, they don't care if it's a hit song, they don't care. They actually just want good music that works on their show, which I think is really cool for people. You don't have to have like a big image or anything like that.
And sometimes it's actually better if you're not like huge already, because if you're huge already, the first thing they're thinking of is that's more expensive. It's more expensive to use someone's song if they're huge. And then a lot of music supervisors really like to be like, oh, we discovered this like up and coming artist and we're putting all her music in the show. So it's definitely not, you don't need to like have a gazillion followers on stuff.
And so it ends up being like a positive, because they have certain budgets that they have to stay under. So if they're gonna like place Beyonce's Single Ladies, that's going to be like $1 million placement.
That's the whole budget.
There it is. There's everything. That's the actor's budget. Is all going to Beyonce's song. So they specifically want music from artists that aren't really big yet. Like that's the thing. Like everyone always thinks it's like everything's so hard, but really they want it because they only have so much money allocated to the music part of the movie. So that's what
it just needs to sound good, and it needs to be as long as your stuff sounds good. That's all that matters.
Now, are you still a like, I don't know, would you call it a free agent? Are you signed with a publishing company now, or what are
Nope. I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager. I'm not signed with a deal with anyone. I don't have a label. Everything's DIY. And sometimes it can be chaotic, but I really like it and it works for me. Maybe at some point I'll get busy enough that I hire management to help, but those are not barriers. You don't need those things. So even the publishing company that specifically asks and commissions me to do things, we just sign like, we're signing a 1-song deal, or we're signing if they have me do 4 songs, we call it an EP. And then the little contract says this EP, we've agreed to work on this EP together. So nope, not signed, not attached to anybody.
And you've created all those relationships really from scratch, like not from.
Yeah. And it won't happen overnight. I mean, I've been out here doing this for 11 years. So it's not like, if you start doing this, you're magically going to meet someone that has all these connections. You're not going to like magically, maybe you will, that would be awesome. But just reminding yourself that it's going to take some time, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just like with anything, I've always used that, this is a marathon, not a sprint, like this is, oops, I think you froze a little bit, Liz. Let's see here.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Oh, sorry.
I think you're good. I think you're good now. So let me see if there was any other questions that I was curious about. And you can work with many producers. I know a lot of people ask, hey, can I only work with one producer? Can I only work with, because you work with lots of different songwriters and producers, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's just more just being organized going in and like knowing, hey, this is great and it's creative and we can have a really great time and have a connection and write a beautiful song together. But knowing like we're doing this intentionally to make money from it. And so like, oh, this is splits, you know, I'm going to write all the lyrics and you're going to do all the production. So we're still going to split things, or, you know, just having that conversation up front of like, oh, your intentions about things, or maybe at the end of the song saying like, oh, so how do we want to split this? And you can say, oh, it's 70 you and 30 me, or whatever, whoever put more into the song. I like to just split everything down the middle. It seems cleaner, but having some sort of, even like an email that says, hey, we're both agreeing that, is helpful in case something ever happens down the road. You've got something in writing that says like, hey, we agreed to split this. But yeah, collaborating has been one of the most important parts of it. Is like, then you learn so much while you're doing that, and you get to work in different styles. And I realized like, I didn't listen to a lot of EDM, but my friend needed someone to help with an EDM thing. And I had a great time, and my voice sounded really good on EDM tracks. And so it led to more and more and more and more. And now I do a ton of session work with EDM. And it was just because I was collaborating with somebody.
Now, besides that, has there been, I know you talked about doing like podcast stuff, which I know that you couldn't have foreseen. Has that been like, besides, you know, and maybe the podcasting is the most kind of unforeseen thing, but what did you say, like when you started getting into it, did you have a certain like plan, like it's going to be like this, but really it turned out to be, you know, or
yeah, no plan
that has surprised you? Like, wow, I didn't know that I'd get called for scary movie trailers.
Yeah, well, that's been funny. That the scary movie trailers thing kind of happened accidentally, as well. I was supposed to co-write with this person, and I showed up, and he goes, well, I've got something that I could use your help on. And I said, sure, what is it? And he started playing this like really like spooky thing. And I was like, oh, I guess we're doing a spooky trailer. But then, you know, on my website, I had a great example of me writing a spooky trailer and how my voice sounded on it. And the lyrics were good. And so when I would share and talk about my music and share my work, people would go, oh, wait, you do trailers too? Like, I've got a friend who needs a trailer, you know? So that has happened across multiple areas of music. With the podcasting, I had a friend who started a podcast, and she said, hey, do you know where people get music for podcasts? And I said, I don't know, but I can make you some. And she went, all right. And so her podcast ended up getting quite a bit of a following. And at the end, she says, you know, Liz Fohls is our composer. And I just started getting emails from people like, oh, I heard your music on whatever. Can you do music for our podcast? So the first one was free. And the second one I charged $75. And the next one I charged $85. And then, you know, like, oh, wait, I can do this. And then I started getting contacted by like big companies who wanted to do podcasts. And I was like, wait, you guys, I should charge you more than $85. And it's like, oh, for those people, you know, one time I said like, what's your budget for this? And they were like, $500. And I was like, yes, I could make that work. And then I was like, yes, like so exciting. So you're just saying yes to things. And that's a whole world that I never imagined writing music for podcasts. And now it's some of my favorite work to do. It's just like, it's super fun, and I don't have to worry about lyrics. So it was good.
That's cool. Just the music part of it. And I know that you kind of, and Liz has been on quite a bit of TV shows and things that you guys would probably recognize, like General Hospital. I know you gave me a few of these. Island USA, Love is Blind, of course.
Love Island. Yeah, Love Island. That was exciting.
Yeah. And Home and Away in Australia and Europe, which you were talking about, because we do have a few people. We have a few people in Europe. I know Arnaud, in Europe, and we have a few other people. So you were talking about how that's, you know, if people are in Europe, that they'll know that. And then you worked with. So what did the lady from Shark Tank have you? What were you doing?
So I wrote a song, like a fun kind of like it's kind of got the same vibe as Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake, and they used it in their this big TikTok campaign. So if you guys are on TikTok and you go to, her name is Kendra Scott, and she's got a jewelry company. They're doing this whole like viral dance craze thing and my song's the one that they use in the background. As of 2 days ago, it was 1.2 million views, which is crazy.
Wow. That's really cool. Wow, that's
really cool. I'm like, I don't have a TikTok. I don't have any followers. Like, it's not because I was famous on TikTok or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. And that's huge too. Again, because everyone just says, like, it helps to have all those things, guys. It helps to have a very popular Spotify. It helps to have 1 million followers on Instagram, but you could spend your whole life trying to build that and then never make any money. And that's most people. Whereas if you just focus on a few things, you could actually be making money now while you're building those things and, you know, building up popularity and all those things. But
Yeah.
I always try to say, there's a big difference between focusing on getting paid and focusing on getting popular. Paid or popular.
Amen. Yes.
A big one. So so this is awesome. Liz, I do want to open up for questions like Q&As right now. I don't know if you're seeing the chat, but everyone's kind of been chiming in and chatting about
cool.
some things. But so I want to see, guys, if you have questions about what she's talking about, some of those processes, how to, you know, I told you guys, you have access to these lists of publishing companies. You can also Google it. You can Google different publishing companies. You can Google, you know, who makes the music for certain shows, and then actually contact them on social media. Carrie says, I have 11 songs which are almost ready for release. My plan was to build a channel and a Patreon around releasing one song at a time at a month. But would it be better to submit them all to libraries and music supervisors at once, or maybe write the same places once a month while we release each song to remind them I exist?
That's cool. Well, congratulations on having some music that's about to come out. You can certainly release them and be pitching them at the same time. Having music that's already released does not disqualify you from getting placements. Some music publishing libraries want there's non-exclusive and there's exclusive. So if there's a publishing library that says, hey, we only do exclusive, and you've already released these songs on Spotify and stuff like that, don't submit to those, because that they can't do exclusive because the songs are already out there in the world. So I say definitely still submit things. If you are releasing them once a month for your artist thing, I think that's really smart as an artist thing to stagger them out. I would maybe send them in a pack to the music supervisor of like, hey, here's the 12 or here's the 11 or however many you said, send those as a group, you know, and then, or send 6 of them, and then 2 or 3 months later, send the other 6. Doing a follow-up email is not a bad idea, but I wouldn't hit them every month. Yeah. Okay. But congratulations, that's exciting.
That's good, because there's 2 different, the method of releasing songs to like artists and fans is going to be very different than for these types of opportunities.
Yes.
For fans, releasing once a month keeps the, you know, the momentum up. People are excited, they're listening, you know, you get to promote each single, maybe you're releasing a music video. It's not the same for the syncing companies. They're not going to be so excited to hear your next song. Usually they're probably listening to about 30 seconds of each song in your you know, SoundCloud folder, and then going, okay, that sounds cool, maybe that one, no, not that one. So
I'd set that up as a private, I put that on SoundCloud as a private playlist or a private album, and send them the private link, so that it's not, you know, since if your fans go to your SoundCloud, they're not like, wait, it's all out, and you're like, no, you know, you're still releasing them one by one for your artist thing, and then keep the other, just think of it as 2 separate things.
Yep. Jen says, what do you work in? You've probably bought a lot of samples and plugins, they said, but do you sit down every day and put out some ideas and finish later, or do you work directly on a song from start to finish?
Good question. I use Logic. I started working in GarageBand because it was free and it was already on my computer. And so if you toyed around with GarageBand and are comfortable with GarageBand, Logic is like grown up GarageBand. So I love that. I can work in Pro Tools. You know, Ableton's great. There's a couple of free ones out there. So if it's cost prohibitive, they're called DAWs, digital audio workstations. So yeah, my program is Logic. My approach depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm working on one of my own songs, I sit down and I play around and I create this weird texture, and then I'm super inspired by that, and I write a melody, and then I go do something else, and I come back, and it's very like all over the place. If I'm working on something like, oh, I know that this is what I want it to sound like, or I know that this is like my target, or like I'm, you know, pitching for this ad and it's due tomorrow, and I want to do this and this, and I know what I want it to sound like, I sit down and I'm working on it. I don't normally like write it on a guitar and then come and produce it. I'm writing as I'm working with sounds, because I'm really inspired by the sound. Like if you change the snare sound, it changes the vibe. So I'm going to do something different lyrically. So yeah, when I'm working on stuff for sync and for ads and TV and film and stuff, I'm producing as I'm writing, and I'm choosing sounds and stuff like that. I hope
Now,
that answered the question.
yeah, and someone else said, and this was a good question, I should have asked this. What is the average rate for a placement in your experience? You know, have you, as an independent and largely unknown, what's like a number, like even a range, like from here to here is kind of what, you know, you mentioned that on your podcast, it was anywhere from 85 to 500. You know, that can be a big range. What kind of
Yeah.
has it been for you in your experience?
Well, it's kind of two different things. So if you're doing a sync situation where it's a buyout, where they're saying, hey, we're not going to give you royalties, but we're going to give you this money up front, those can range from you know, $1,000. You know, if it's like a film student doing something, you know, it's $250 or something like that, which is great. If you're getting a commercial, your song is in a Jeep commercial at the Super Bowl, it's $100,000, you know, or it's $30,000 is very reasonable. I don't work a lot with upfronts, so I'm not normally getting like someone's handing me a check for 30 grand. I do more of I get no money up front, but I get all of the back end. So if it's, you know, the more it's played on TV stations across the country, it's like, you know, a hundredth of a penny, but it really stacks up. And I can, yeah, was there a second part to that question?
They're just saying, as an independent and largely unknown, what's a number, you know, that
it's tricky because it's not tied to me or the size of my audience. It's tied to the opportunity. So again, is it, you know, is it a local business in a small town in Indiana? You know, then you're going to get, you know, and the ad is playing at 3:00 in the morning. You're still going to get royalties, but it's going to be a lot lower than, oh, it's a Jeep commercial at the Super Bowl and millions and millions and millions of people are watching it and it's getting replayed and replayed and replayed. So I know it's annoying to not like have a number answer, but you just can't.
Do you have like a range of, like, if someone got placed on like a popular TV show in your experience, like what is like a pretty like, oh, that sounds about right, you know, that someone would get for getting on a, you know, a popular Netflix show or something like that?
Let me I'll pull up my ASCAP account and I can tell you exactly what something on this. Yeah. If you want to,
that would be great.
We can move to the next question while I sign in and stuff.
Okay, cool. So as she's signing in, someone asked the difference between, and I'll answer this for you guys while you're signing in, Liz. What's the difference between having your music released on YouTube and having on SoundCloud, since everybody has access to it? So not everyone doesn't have access to it. You can create private playlists. On YouTube, for you to get your music on YouTube, you're going to have to create videos with it. You don't want to have to create a video for every single song. And that's not realistic for a sync agent to want to click on all your videos. They want to be able to listen. Again, they're going to listen to like probably just 30 seconds or 15 seconds. I mean, they're going to listen to it really quickly. So the SoundCloud link is great because it literally just, it's like a music player box. You can make it unlisted or private. You know, you only give access to certain people. So, or you can just make it public. Totally depends on you. But that's the difference, is YouTube is video and you don't want to have to do video for everything. It doesn't make sense. And they're not going to take you serious if you send a YouTube playlist over. It's going to be kind of weird.
I totally agree.
Yeah, let's see what else here.
Find a cue sheet for this.
See if there's other questions here. I've got a few people chatting and networking with each other, which is awesome.
That's great. You're doing the right things. That's great.
Yeah, lots of producers in here and songwriters. And
I would say, regarding like in your guys' searches, you're going to see a lot of like things that say like, if you pay $50 to submit this or whatever the money is, stay away from services that charge you to submit things. They don't have any better connections than the free ones do, and there's no reason to do it. So yeah, stay away from. I saw 1 or 2 questions pop up about some specific named ones, and yeah, there's just no reason. It's just a waste of money.
Yeah, and I've seen some where they're like, hey, we'll submit your music to 50,000 people for $5. Guys, that's
totally spam.
Yeah.
And it could actually hurt you, because then if somebody, you know, it's just not good. Just stay away from it.
not going to make it for it. So I'm looking here, guys. She's looking up questions here. She's going to log into her ASCAP right now to talk to you guys about specific numbers. But do we have other questions right now of what we've talked about, the process of submitting, how to find them? I mean, you've given some really great gems. I think everyone already can go home with homework already, like making those SoundCloud, lists and kind of just knowing the process. Heather says, is SOCAN the same kind of thing? Do you know what that is?
I've never heard of SOCAN.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is. SOCAN. I have no idea.
I don't.
It's a Society of Composers, Authors, and Music Publishers of Canada. So that looks like that's a PRO, the same way ASCAP or BMI. SOCAN is the Canadian one. That's great. I think in Canada and definitely Mexico, and I think most of Europe, you can still sign up for ASCAP or BMI. But if there's a Canadian specific one, sure. I mean, I think that would be great. I think Canadian television shows prioritize sourcing music that is at least two-thirds of the collaborators involved are Canadian or something like that. So that's great.
Let's see here. Other questions. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, Heather's saying maybe it's Canadian. Yeah, because I had never heard of that. Arnaud says Saucem. Yeah, that's probably the same thing. It's probably just your version. He's in France.
Oh, cool. So yeah, I've got some of these up. Like I had a song that was placed in the show Claws. I don't even know what that is. It says it was in 2 episodes and it played 173,000 times. And I made 94 cents. So not a lot, right? 94 cents total. But then I had another song in Love Island. And where did it play? It said it played 1 time in 1 episode. And in April, just in April, I've made $350.71 from that. So, if that episode keeps playing in May, then I'll get $270 from it. And if it plays a little bit in June, I'll get $100 from it, like whatever. But if I've got 100 songs that are out there in the universe getting these little placements, the $350 and the 94 cents and the 94 cents and the $2 and the whatever, like stacks up to a point where you're like, oh, I could pay my grocery bill, or I could whatever, or I could pay rent or whatever. So right. The other part of it is just creating a ton of music and just doing it. Now, of course, when I say create a ton of music, I'm assuming like this is all, it sounds great, it's fully produced, it's radio ready. Just making a ton of it and collaborating with people to make a ton of it is going to help a lot. And then for me, it makes it less like, oh, I love this song, it's so perfect, I don't want to like give it out, my song baby. It's like, I don't know, I have a song baby and a song baby and a song baby.
You almost forget about those songs that you create.
Well, you kind of have to submit it and forget it. So yeah, and then like being honest with yourself and your sound of like, I'm really good at this, but I'm not great at this, so that's something I need to work on. Or in the meantime, while I'm working on that, like, oh, Kristine's great at that, or my friend Joe is great at that, Emily is great at that. Team up with Emily. Like, Emily's a great producer, but she doesn't know how to write lyrics. Well, I can write lyrics. Let's team up with Emily.
Right.
So yeah, just.
And I'll say that also on the subject of money too, for myself, like I've gotten my own, a few amount of placements. And mine usually, like I've done, kind of like how you had, like one of my placements, did like $300 to $500. And then sometimes I'll get contacted by companies that say, can you create a commercial for my company? I got contacted by a diamond company, and that ended up paying, I don't know, it was like $1,000 or something.
Yeah.
And that was me throwing it out there. I'm like, hey, they have diamonds, so they probably have like a good amount of money, right? So I'm like,
yeah, okay. I did an ad campaign this year that is a buyout, which means they're paying me up front and they own the song. I'm not listed as a writer. They're not going to register it. There's no royalties attached to it. If that song blew up and had a gazillion plays, I'm not getting any of that money, and I can't tell anybody that I wrote it, like complete buyout, but it paid $6,000. And that was like, great, I'll do that. Call me for the next one. Yeah. And then you see some of the other ones are like, I don't need to be listed as an artist or a writer or whatever. I can't even put it on my website. Like, that's fine. And then some other ones, yeah, those are the buyouts. And then some others don't have any upfront money, but that one song I did with a friend, 8 years ago now makes me $80 a month, pretty much every month. It's
Well,
like,
you know
right.
what? I think, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Liz.
No, that's it.
I was going to say, you know, also what's really valuable about this is there's a lot of these opportunities that, you know, she's talked about the range. Hey, one of them's made her 94 cents and it played 160,000 times. One of them's paid her $300 and only played one time. Another opportunity has paid her $6,000. Yet, you know, she doesn't really get to say that she did it. But here's kind of the interesting thing is that some of these opportunities you use to sell yourself. So even though that one show may have not paid as much as that $6,000 show, sometimes just being able to list those things on your website as credits, like I've done music for this, then brings that $6,000 client, then brings that $10,000 client.
Yeah.
So really think about, guys, not everything is like, I need to get paid right now. Sometimes building that resume will get you those higher paying.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what happened. Is somebody said, hey, my friend Liz would be great for your campaign. And they're like, we don't know who Liz is. And they went to my website and they saw, oh, look, other people have hired Liz. Liz's music is great. Let's hire Liz. So yeah, maybe I did that thing for free, but it sounds great. And it got me hired for that thing. I paid $6,000. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So really using all of your past accomplishments, like, and posting those up, sharing that you've done it, because then when you have that client that comes and says, hey, can you make a commercial for me?
Yeah.
Then you can be like, sure, a couple grand or whatever.
I would say, almost every time I've shared just on Instagram, like, hey, look, I made this cool music for this cool podcast. Maybe every single time that I posted about doing music for a podcast, at least one person not only contacts me, but hires me to make music for their podcast. It's been like a 1-to-1 conversion. So letting it's like passing out flyers, like letting people know, like, hey, here I am, I exist, this is what I do, and I'm good at it. So that people, when they think like, oh, I need music, they think, oh, let's call Liz.
Yep, exactly. That's all great. So I'm looking here real quick. Sabrina, you asked me a question. Did I learn the 40 songs in 2 weeks without notes and lyrics? No, Sabrina, actually. So a lot of the songs I did, memorize them, but I'm not good at memorizing songs. It takes me like so long to memorize a song. So I had an iPad with me. I used it for reference. So that's to answer your question. Let me see if there's other questions here. Everyone's collaborating and chatting with each other.
That's great.
Bella, who is, she's the youngest student here. She's 13. She asked if you'd be willing to collaborate with other artists here.
If I had time, that'd be great. I would love to hear if people have stuff, send me a link, send me a DM on Instagram and send me a link. And then, I'm also, if you want, I'm happy to give you feedback of like, hey, by the way, you can send it to me as if you're approaching a music supervisor, and I can respond with like a critique of like, by the way, I would maybe word this differently, or, hey, your link didn't work, or, hey, this song was great, but this song, you should like work on the drum. So if you guys want to DM, that's fine. And like, you don't have to have tons of great gear. I can't tell you how many times just one of the Netflix placements, I recorded on a mic that goes USB into my computer in a closet in a hotel room. Like, that's fine. You don't have to have a lot of gear. You don't have to have a lot of money.
You don't have to have a big fancy studio.
No, I'm in a garage. I'm in a garage right now. This part of it looks nice because I've cleaned it, but the other half of it is very dirty. So it's just a garage. What else was I? Oh, metadata. Metadata is important. So metadata is the information attached to your song file. So when you're submitting a song file, and some will ask for MP3s, some will ask for what's called a WAV file. There should be information attached to it so that when they listen to this song and open the song and want to put this song into their publishing library that then these TV shows will pull from, it's got your name, it's got, it says Liz Fohl, pop, female vocal, Triumph, and then my email. It'll have like, there'll be a section for you to like tag, oh, it builds, it's triumphant, it's emotional, it's like all the tag the words that you would tag about, that's like the vibe of the song. So it's a little too detailed to like get into right now, but I would just Google metadata, 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 just read up on what it is, tagging metadata into your songs. I'm finding that industry standard now is using this service called Disco. And I think there are free memberships to it or whatever. So when you upload a song into Disco, it'll immediately say, hey, let's fill out all the metadata for the song. And a lot of music supervisors now prefer, if you're going to send me songs, send me through Disco. So it's kind of like an alternate version of SoundCloud, but it includes all of that metadata. So that's definitely something to look into.
Awesome. Awesome. She's sharing so many great things, guys. I'm still checking the chat to see if there's any questions. I'm going to recap some of those things because I know we've had people kind of join in throughout that missed some of the beginning, but just a real quick recap, what she's talked about is everything from getting her start in, creating music all the time, collaborating with other producers and songwriters, even going to open mic so that she can network with people and creating that music. And then we talked about how to find those opportunities by joining Facebook groups, by checking out your favorite shows that have music that sounds like you, and then Googling those music supervisors or going to IMDb to find who chooses the music for those TV shows and films and that sort of thing, and then contacting them. But before you contact them, setting up your SoundCloud so you have your libraries of different styles of music that you have, writing a short email and then sending them a link. And then she chatted about some of the getting her range from making $1 to $6,000. It quite ranges. And that's the thing in performances too. I mean, I'm sure you've had the same experience, Liz. I've gotten paid. When I first started out, I took gigs. Obviously I did free gigs at first, but then, you start making $50 here, $60 here. And then I've gone all the way to make, $5,000 in a night. And so it just kind of really depends, and then maybe the next day I'm doing a restaurant gig for, $300 or whatever. So it really ranges. The possibilities are really, all over the board, but definitely, talking about saying yes to opportunities and that sort of thing. Is there anything, because I'm not seeing, oh wait, here, I think here's a question.
And the great thing about this is like, I've got all the, during the week, I'm working on all these songs and submitting them. And then they're like off in the universe doing work for me, and then I can still be doing gigs and doing that and teaching a music lesson and doing all these different streams of income. And then these songs that like write it, produce it, work really hard on it, fall in love with it, send it out there, let it do its thing. And then, some of them sometimes make their money just shows up in your mailbox and you're like, oh, that's cool. So
that's always nice. Jean said, so if I'm understanding correctly, Jean, you have all your songs labeled as demos, and you're saying, would having the demo label in the song title hurt my opportunity for syncing?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I would take demo out, and if it actually is a demo, I would not submit those until they're fully done. Libraries and supers don't want unfinished work, and they don't have time to say like, "Ooh, this would be great if you XYZ, XYZ." It needs to be ready to go.
Good to know.
But I would definitely, even if it's not a demo, I would take that out of the title because they're going to assume it is a demo and they won't even listen to it.
David said, I'm worried about putting all my songs on SoundCloud. We just talked about that, David. So you can create private libraries so that only these syncing agents have the opportunity to check out that music.
You can also do that on Disco, and Disco isn't like, available to the general public, but definitely private SoundCloud links are the way to go.
Cool. And then let's see here. Crystal says, what is your work week like, Liz and Kristine, in terms of the business and multiple forms of income? How much time do you spend on each area? And do you work every day or take the weekends off but have long hours during the week? This is a great question. How do you balance? Liz, what do you do? What does your week look like?
I'm still working on balance here. It's kind of all over the place. Like if I have a project, like I got hired to do something on Friday and I finished it this morning. So I worked all through the weekend and I worked crazy hours. And the rest of today is really crazy because I've got some deadlines tomorrow. But then like I might not do anything on Wednesday because I need to like take. And by not do anything, I mean like I'll do laundry and do like normal people things. Like, you know, clean the house, then cook some food. So for me, it's very project to project that I get really invested while I'm working on a project and I want to knock it out. I do something musical and work on something every day. I normally kind of get up and do emails and admin stuff until 1 or 2 p.m. mostly because my voice, I need to like get my voice warmed up so I can be singing if I need to. And then I find that I'm great at being productive during the day. I'm most creative but after 7 p.m. like 7 p.m. to midnight. I'm like, oh, these ideas.
Right.
Yeah, balance is hard. It's hard to stop working, especially when like music is my favorite thing to do. So it's hard to be like, I'm gonna stop. But it's good to set reminders to be like, oh, I gotta walk the dog, or like maybe I should get some sleep. So.
Right. Exactly.
And like I don't have I think it would be different if you had kids or, you know, schedule things that were like you had to schedule around. So I don't know what that's like for you, Kristine.
Yeah, I was just about to say mine, because I know, Crystal, you asked for both of ours, and everyone's life looks so different. I mean, my life before I had a child and after I had a child are like not even somewhat similar. Like they're so like black and white, like so completely different. You know, before I could work in the studio till 5 o'clock in the morning, and I loved it because just like you, Liz, that's when I was most, you know, creative, was at night. Well, now I'm in bed by like 9:30 because I just had bath time for my son and read him a story, and now I'm exhausted because I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take him to school. You know, so for me as a mom, I have about, you know, from 8 in the morning till about 4 p.m. He's at daycare, and I just work. I don't answer phone calls really, unless it's like business related, because my priority is like, and I switched from, you know, before I had my son, I was doing a lot of shows. I was doing more of the artist thing. I was releasing music. I had, you know, albums out, and I was signing stuff and sending it out, merchandise. And then when I decided, when I got pregnant with my son, I decided to switch to do more of what I'm doing now, which is working with all of you. So I spend my day creating PDFs and tutorial videos and new programs and contacting people like Liz to come on. So now I'm teaching, really, essentially. So I spend most of my time teaching, and I actually booked my first show in the last like 2 years, because I know COVID was kind of crazy. So I have something coming up in 2 weeks here, but I don't usually do those because they're usually late nights. So my priorities have shifted and changed, but just like Liz, every day is different. But for me, it's just, I have 8 to 4. I'm like work. And then after that, I have my son. So, and I work every day. I don't really take a lot of time off, but I'll take moments, dear, you know what? I've worked till 6. Me and my son went to the mall yesterday for like 3 hours, and just, I rented these little like scooters, and me and him just like ran around the whole mall and just like ate, you know, quesadillas, and, you know, rode around on all this stuff. And just, I mean, we had a really good time. So I'll take pockets of time and go, you know what, I'm just going to go hang out and do that sort of thing. So that's kind of,
I think the coolest part about it is, oh no, go ahead, Liz. Yeah, I think you can, like, with a creative career, it's gonna feel like a lot of balls are in the air. But for me, like, you can kind of create the schedule and the life that you like. You're gonna have to work crazy hard, and it's gonna be weird because no one's like telling you what to work on. So it's not as organized, but you can really kind of choose your own hours. I would say it's harder to stop working than it is to find something to work on, but it's also very important to like rest.
Right. Yeah. And then I think, what was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. Oh, it's more based on like productivity. Cause when you make your own hours, it's like, okay, let me finish this song. Not I'm working from 8 to 4 usually. You know, it's usually like, okay, my priority is to finish this, or to submit to this company, or to create this playlist so I can submit it to this supervisor or whatnot. Yeah. So, yeah, Carrie says, you're up at 6 a.m. because you're engineering music with fresh ears. Oh, that's great. Hey, that's a good time to get it. I mean, I've had to switch my whole world to just working during the day because I just can't. My son is like, he's a little crazy. So, and then I'm exhausted once the evening comes. So everyone knows during the day, it's almost impossible to get a hold of me because during the day I'm working, and then at night I'm working because I have my son. So I'm hanging out with my son the whole time. So it's just, like I said, priorities I think are really important. And then depending on what your goal is, like Liz, whenever we were playing, our goals were always like booking shows, right? Like booking more private stuff and booking. And now they've changed for both of us. Like you're doing more of this type thing and I'm doing more of this.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever your goals are, everyone that's watching, prioritize what it is that you want to do. So, and give more time and energy to whatever area of the music industry you want to be successful in. Carrie says there are a few non-exclusive music libraries, or are there a few non-exclusive music libraries or publishing companies that you recommend to start researching?
There's a handful of non-exclusive. I mean, everything I'm going to mention is going to be on Kristine's list. There are a handful of non-exclusives, and what that means is they will represent your song and pitch it. You know, it's in their library, so that shows or whatever could maybe pull it and use it. But also, this library has it, and this library has it, and this other library has it. Then if it gets picked up, like, oh, library A, you know, this show pulled it out of library A and is using it for 2 years or whatever, you have to go tell library B and C, like, put this song on hold because it's being used. Or it gets used in multiple places, which is great. Exclusive libraries, I know Carrie knows this, I'm just saying it for anybody else. Exclusive means I'm giving them this song, I'm not even showing it to anyone else, you know, if it's been accepted, and I'm not pitching it to anything else. These guys have that song. It's exclusive. And normally it's exclusive for all of time, forever. I mostly work with exclusives. You know, it's worked really well for me. Yeah, as far as specific ones, I would just Google. It's going to be more important for you to figure out what, like, oh, this music library specializes in this type of music, or this music library, you know, does a lot of these types of shows. Finding out where you kind of align with those is going to be more important than, or more, you know, more potentially impactful than focusing on exclusive versus non-exclusive. And some libraries will do both exclusive and non-exclusive deals. So yeah, I would just kind of run through the list that Kristine's going to send out and figure out, oh, this one, you know, if being non-exclusive is really important to you, just figuring out like which ones would work.
Right. And I'll say that, like, I've had, you know, mixed experiences with those types of things. I know a lot of people are scared of those types of things, but I'll say that when someone does have something exclusive, and do your research, obviously you don't want to give exclusive rights to your neighbor who is, you know, not successful in this, right? But it gives them more, they want to push it because they know that there's not a million other people pushing your music as well. And I've seen that also even with booking agents. I've done a few exclusive things, and there's certain booking agents that, because I said, okay, you have exclusive rights to book me, then they know they're not competing with any other agents as well. And that's worked out really well for me, where I'm doing like hundreds of shows if that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So that has worked out well. So just because something's exclusive doesn't mean it's bad. It means that now they want those rights because they really want to push you usually, and they usually believe in it. They're not asking for it because they think it sucks. They're going, I think I get placed, but I
or with libraries specifically, it's like, oh, maybe this one is non-exclusive, but they have 100,000 songs in it. So to find your song is like needle in a haystack. But maybe I've done exclusive with this one over here, and their library is a lot more curated. So it's maybe harder to get your song accepted by them or whatever reason, but it's like, or it's like a specific style that they specialize in, but it's a lot smaller, so that when all of the TV shows that work with them are searching, the chances of them picking your music are like way higher. So yeah, there's pros and cons to working with either.
So Carrie, here's a really good question from Carrie. Liz, if you're having better luck with exclusive deals, how does this impact releasing music on Spotify and other streaming services if you're not signed to a label?
Exclusive means exclusive. So they're not like the work that I did for BMG. I wrote a record that I would have loved to put out as my original stuff. Can't do it, won't do it. I gave it to them, it's theirs. You know, if they place it in stuff and it's already gotten placement and stuff, I get, you know, I keep all of my writing royalties. They take the publishing royalties. But that's, you know, giving them those publishing royalties is like the price that I've paid to have this like awesome curated great library, have my tracks, and then all of their clients can use from it. So yeah, if something's exclusive, I wouldn't release it And if it's been released, it's going to be tricky to then pitch it to an exclusive library because they want something that's hasn't been out there yet. So if it's already been released, then go for the non-exclusives, and you'll have tons and tons of options there. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
And what I was going to say too is a lot of people that do this will put out their own album, and then they have the music that they make for TV and sync.
Yes.
So they're kind of keeping them separate rather than, you know, hey, I only made 11 songs and those are the only 11 songs that I'm going to try to get synced and placed. Instead, these are my 11 songs for my album, but I create songs that are rock and hip hop and pop and country and all these different genres that I would never want to release as an artist, but they're just specifically to try to get placed.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how I do it. Or like the songs that I release as an artist, like I just way too much time on them, and I'm like, what am I saying? What are the lyrics? What's my feelings and my emotions? Which is great. You know, I need that. That feels good to work on those songs and to put those out, and maybe they'll get placed and stuff. Great. But I'm doing those for me. And then for like paying the bills with music stuff, I'm like, all right, let's write a song that sounds like Driver's License, or let's write a song that sounds like Colby Calais. I'm really good at this. Let's write a couple songs that sound like that. And so it's kind of two different work speeds and two different brain processes. And one, I'm very emotionally invested, and one, I'm still like emotional and into it and doing it, but it's more like solving a riddle and like doing like a challenge. And it's very fun musically to do. But they feel very different, and it's easier to like write the song, get it out, write the song, get it out, write the song, get it out. When it's not like, but this is me as an artist, and has to represent what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I definitely agree with those being kind of two separate things. But your original stuff is still like, you can still push that for non-exclusives, and like, that's great. A lot of music supervisors, like we said earlier, like up and coming artists and like feeling like they've discovered someone. So definitely still be pitching your original work, but it doesn't hurt to have that whole second column of stuff that you're just writing that's not going to be part of your artist thing.
Would you say it's also good to have the version with the lyrics and then have like the instrumental version as well?
Great. I made a note to talk about that and I forgot. So you're going to need alternate versions. So when I submit stuff to a publishing library, I'm submitting the full version. So it's like the whole song with all of the instruments and my vocals and all of the background vocals and stuff like that. I have an instrumental version. It's smart to have a version with, you do definitely need the full and the instrumental, but it is smart to also have like, here's a version without the background vocals. Or if there's like a lot of big crazy drums and like risers and effects, to have a version that says Liz Fohl, song name, no FX, or no drums. Or if the guitar part is really slamming, like just do a bounce of just the guitar. So having alts is very important, and just gives them more reasons to use their song because it's so flexible. They can edit it into different scenes, and they can we love this song, but we want this to feel really like close and like intimate. Then they can use the part with no drums in it or something like that. So a full version and an instrumental version are absolutely need to haves. And then some extras one are smart. So if you guys are not doing your own production, what you should ask from whoever's producing for you is to give you what's called grouped stems. So that means the producer, I would give you just the drums and just the keyboards and just the bass and just the lead vocal and just the other vocals or whatever it is. So when you put them all together and hit play, it sounds like the full song, but you're able to give those individual pieces if somebody wants it. And when you're contacting those music publishing companies, they'll tell you like, hey, this is how we like to receive files. This is the file type, and we want these 3 versions. So yeah, that's great. Alternate versions is very important and will just help move you to the front of the line.
Awesome. And then Carrie asked, what about derivative works? Let's say you make a version of a song and register a PR and SR form for it, but then you make another version with real differences you pitch to libraries and publishings for exclusive use. what exactly is your question there, Carrie? What is the
are you talking about like covers, or are you talking about with samples?
Yeah,
If you're sampling or using, if it's derivative works of somebody else's work, you can't do exclusive. You know, you've got to get permission, you know, permission to cover someone's song or to use a part of a song. So if you want to clarify, I'm happy to answer the question, but.
Yeah, I was a little unclear on what it is as well. David said, do I put my sync catalog on the EPK? So your EPK, remember, is different. We just talked about that. An EPK, you're not going to send to like a sync agents or publishing companies. Rather, you'll go to their website, see how they want you to submit your music. Usually, you know, if you're sending it, they may have a form, or you send an email with the links to the SoundCloud playlist that we talked about a little earlier. So your EPK is more for like, if you're wanting to collaborate with like producers and agents and stuff like that, like that's great for that. Or if you're sending it to record labels, or if you're trying to get published in media, or you're trying to book interviews, like those types of things, they're to get people excited about you as an artist. Whereas like a publishing company doesn't really like care who your inspirations
are,
you know?
I think it's one is pitching you and the other one is pitching your work.
Yeah, so quite different. So Carrie says, like if you had a derivative of your own song.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I would register them as like two different pieces for sure, depending on how like close it is. You know, if it's like, oh, I wrote a song called Grow and it's like this great pop song, and then like, oh, I did a cool acoustic version of Grow, I would do like Grow and then Grow Stripped or whatever, however you want to title that. Yeah, and I mean, the like potential issue is, oh, it's derivative of someone's work, they're gonna like come after me. Well, it's derivative of your work, so you're not gonna like come after yourself.
Right. That's happened to me. I posted a video on Vimeo and they're like, you used Kristine Mirelle's music, and I'm like,
you're like,
I am. Hi, nice to meet you.
I've had that happen before on SoundCloud, that a song of mine got accepted, a song that was private on SoundCloud that I was just using to like show, hey, this is the kind of work I do. I sent it to someone privately, and then it got picked up in an exclusive library, which is great. And then a couple months later, I got a notification from SoundCloud that even though the track was still private, we've disabled this track because of copyright infringement, which means the publishing company has registered, hey, this is our song, this is what it sounds like. Nobody else can use it. So even though I wrote it and I did everything, that means the system is working correctly.
Right. Yeah. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing because whatever their system is, it found the song. Yeah. And you had given those rights to someone else. Mm-hmm. So technically, yeah, it wasn't supposed to be there, but it's still interesting.
It is very funny. It's very funny. Yeah. Like, it's me.
Right. Exactly. We have time for a few more questions, guys. This has been really great, Liz. Thank you so much so far for everything that you've shared.
Yeah, of course. I get really excited about everything. So if I'm just like talking and blubbering or whatever, but happy to help. I wish there's a lot of things that took me 10 years to learn. So if I can help you guys not take 10 years.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing, is there's so much that like you can skip like 10 years of I mean, just in what she's shared right now, just those things, like how many of you guys need to set up those, SoundCloud things, and how many of you thought to go on IMDb? Like a lot of these things are like hacks that are so much faster than, let me post a lot of music online and hopefully someone will come to me. Yeah. These are the fast ways to, like, if you have music, you can set all this up today and be submitting by tonight.
Yeah. Like well, they said like something like 100,000 new songs get published on iTunes every day. Like, you can't really wait for someone to find you.
No, you really need to be proactive, and that's with everything that you do. So
I'd say if you want to like learn about like the specifics of, splits and the technicalities of a cue sheet, how do you file a cue sheet for a TV when your music is in TV show and stuff like this? This book is an encyclopedia. So I don't know if it's backwards. It's called All You Need to Know About the Music Business, and it's by Donald Passman. And I didn't like read it all the way through. I keep it literally as it's like an encyclopedia. So if someone says like, hey, Liz, can we use your music? Somebody asked me the other day to use my music in a film, gratis agreement, which means it's free. It's a student film for the length of a the film circuit when they were pitching to like Sundance and film festivals. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I looked it up and all of the information was in here of like, it's called a step contract. And now I know what a step contract is and what gratis contracts are. So this isn't, if you're like serious about really getting into it, it's not a dumb idea to pick up this book. So
awesome. I'll definitely post that. And we also, and I just want to just bring up a note because I just love this group so much. So we have our youngest student who's 13. We also have Henrietta who's 78. So we have
Henrietta
that are starting early, and some people going, man, it's never too late. And it really isn't, especially in this kind of thing too. Like nobody's even going to ask if you're making music. No one's, you know, for film, they're not going to be like, by the way, how old are you? And that's another myth that I think a lot of people hear, that you can, you know, you're either too young or too old, and you only have this time between when you're like 18 and 23. And that's the only time you can, you know, create a music.
Yeah.
None of that's true at all.
Or just like the thing that's comforting to me about that is for years, I really worked hard at like being the artist and like having the online presence and like having cool photos and having visual content. And there are people who are great at that and love that. And that's great. Kristine's great at that and just exudes that. That stuff drives me nuts to do. It makes me feel like I don't love it. I don't love being the front facing like artist of things. But before I was like, I guess I have to do that because who else is going to release my music? And then like stuff like this, you realize like, oh, I can have a great career and a great life and like pay for my life with music. And I don't have to have like, no one has to see me if I don't want them to.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is everyone that's listening, it's just, you know, I've told you guys so much just to forget about what everybody says you have to have. And because you can build your career based on what you want, whether you want light and be like, here I am, or whether you want to be, you know, in the background. You know, there's plenty of big time engineers and producers who don't even have an Instagram. You know, I even have tons of friends, and lots of them are mutual with Liz, that perform all over the world, that make six figures, that also don't have like a big following on Instagram.
Yep.
There's different, you know, you definitely different strategies that you're going to put in place. But it doesn't mean that it's not possible. So
yeah, it's like, who do you want to reach? If you're a producer who wants to work with young pop stars, you need to be on Instagram. That's where you're going to find them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. G Buckets asked if I'm going to email the replay. I am. So I always send out the replay. So we'll be sending this out to everybody in a couple days. So let's see. Everyone's saying thank you. Henrietta said thank you. Adam said thank you. You're very sweet, Adam. He said we're angels. That was really nice, and sent us heart emojis.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks.
So that's really nice. Thank you.
Great. You guys have had great questions.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see. Someone else says no questions, but great job to you both. Someone did ask if you had any specific like companies that have used the majority of your songs, or have there been like what licensing companies use the most of your songs? Or do you
For me, it's been mostly through BMG, and that's a personal connection that I have from 11 years ago. I know that's annoying because it's not like, hey, here's the answer, but that's just part of like doing it. And sometimes people like work with people and then never hear from them again. That was like a built up personal connection. And so that's the people I was talking about who will contact me and say, hey, you know, can you do these songs? And we'll put them in our library. Or hey, they'll call, hey, we've got this thing that just came on our desk, and we need top line, which is vocals and melody. We need top line and vocals by in 3 hours. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on it. Like, so that was a personal connection, and that's where most of my stuff comes from, but a lot of it, it's not all of it.
Okay, great. And that's a good point, because there's been opportunities like that for me too, where people have said, we need something from you right now. Are you available? And because I was able to deliver, it created a relationship that's like forever. And now you have that relationship. So that's very cool.
Yeah. And just like working toward being aware of, like, I'm not saying you have to be 100% self-sufficient and like you have to know how to do, like, be an engineer and be a producer and track vocals and track all these things, but just kind of being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses is good, because, you know, if they post it online, hey, we need a vocalist who can do this, do that, and track out professional sounding vocals and get it to us in 3 hours, they're going to get a lot of people who can do some of that stuff, but not all. And like, oh, I can do it if I can get to my producer's house and then he can like do this thing, whatever. I just learned how to do all of those things to an acceptable level where I can be like, one-stop shop, hire me, because I can do like any of your musical needs across any genre. I should be your first call to get something done by tomorrow or to get something done in 3 months. Like just kind of being honest with like areas that you need to work on.
And it also becomes more profitable for you, because let's say a gig only pays like $250. Like that's great for, you know, someone who's like $250, not bad. But let's say you had to then go hire an engineer and pay them, you know, $50 an hour or whatever. If it takes you 2 hours, that's $100 gone. Now you're only making 150. So just
or rent a space or whatever. So it's like, I don't know, put some blankets up, get a USB mic for $100 and be able to like track out stuff in your closet. Great. You can say yes to all those gigs now.
Yeah, those little things are going to make a big difference. People knowing that they can rely on you to just get it done. And for you, knowing that you can take this gig, because maybe it's not worth it if you're only going to get paid $100. But for you to get to keep the full or majority of it, that's great, just by acquiring a few extra little skill sets. So I have my own little studio set up and I have my own video set up, and I didn't have to spend that much money to get it. But I can do almost, I recorded my whole last album at home and then I just sent it out to get mixed and mastered. I don't do mixing and mastering, but that saved me a lot of money, a lot of studio time. That would have been,
that's what I do. Yeah.
So,
it might take longer, but then you just become like, oh man, we called Liz last minute for that thing and it didn't pay a lot, but like she really saved our butt and it sounded great. Like the client loved it. Like, oh, hey Liz, do you want to come in on this other thing? Like, do you want to come in on this other thing? And then if they're out in their world, like, you know, they go out for drinks with all of their like whatever buddies, and someone says like, oh man, I've got this thing. Do you know anybody? And they go, actually, we just worked with this girl, Liz. She's great. Like you, so it just starts doing the work for you.
Yeah. And that's probably a lot of the things that I've gotten called for have happened like that. Like even I played piano on a Mercedes-Benz commercial, and that was because I was playing consistently with a guitar player, and that guitar player knew somebody who did film. And then that film company got hired to do Mercedes-Benz, and Mercedes-Benz said, wouldn't that be cool if we had someone play the piano? Do you know anybody that plays the piano? They called the guitar player called me, you know. So it's just like, there's different opportunities just by you being involved in a circle of musicians. And sometimes, you know, they're pay really great and sometimes they don't pay really great, but they lead to other things. And especially if you're just getting started out.
Kristine, you did that for me. Like while we were working at this bar and I wanted to like segue into something that wasn't taking up so much of my time and my energy, but I couldn't quit. I needed to pay for food, and Kristine was playing at this other venue, and they said, hey, we need some people who can play piano and sub. I think it was a last minute, like somebody's car broke down and they needed someone to get to Thousand Oaks. Like I think Adam Michelson couldn't get to a gig, and they needed someone that you knew would like know enough songs to come sub with somebody else. And I was able to like, I'll be there in an hour. And that led to weekly gigs that allowed me to leave the job I wanted to leave. And it was because Kristine said, oh, I know somebody, you know? So yes.
Yeah. So create those relationships. And I always tell everyone, be kind to people, be really kind, because
be kind to people and answer your emails. Like
be reliable.
There's so many times that like you'll get hired not only because you're capable, but because you're not an awful person to spend time with. Like I get hired for gigs. There are like way better vocalists that get passed on because they're kind of hard to deal with, or because they didn't answer their phone or whatever. So that goes a long way. Is like just being a decent, respectful person will go a long way.
A long way. That will go so far. I mean, even with, you know, for me, when I hire people, I hire a lot of people based on, hey, they're good, but I know better people, but they're just really cool to work with and they're not difficult. And I think musicians have a reputation of not showing up on time and, you know, things like that, not delivering on time and those sorts of things. So those things will go really far away, really long way, just in general. So I think we have let me see if there's any new questions, and then we're going to be closing out. Oh, someone asked about top line. Top line is just the melody. So you could be hired to come in and do melody and be like, that's top line. So it's not all the lyrics and everything. It's just that there's people that's all they do. There's a music playing and they'll be like, la, 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 la. And they're amazing at that.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll have like, because I love you. Like, you know.
Yeah, that's our professional top line example here that we're giving you guys.
It's fun. I mean, some people want that. They're like, we've got the words. We just need we need some melody ideas. Like, all right, I'll do that.
We don't have words yet. Come in and just write top line over it. And there's people that are amazing at that. I know people that are amazing. I take a really long time to write lyrics. I'm way better at instrumentals and then top line, way better at that. So there's
I get a lot of work that from specifically from Germany of people who write like the music sounds awesome, the melody's awesome, and the lyrics are like okay, but you can tell maybe they want the song to be in English and English isn't their like most comfortable language, which is totally fine. Then they'll hire me to like, okay, I'm gonna come in and like, I see what you're trying to say here. I'm gonna write the lyrics to fit the melody that you already have. So that German record that I did was just like that. So that can be really fun. And then if you're great at lyrics, but you don't know how to do all of the production side of things, there's still like tons of opportunities for you to get involved. So not only did I get paid to do a vocal demo for each song for them to show them like, this is how you should sing it in English, but now I've got, 40% of that song when it's playing over in Europe, I'm going to get royalties from it. So
awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all this, Liz. I think we're going to close out, everybody. I did see someone asked a question about the book. Yes, I'm going to be all of you have access to the book already. There's tons of publishing companies in there. Go to their website, see the best way to submit to them. And also what would be even better, check out shows that already have your music, that sounds already like your music, right? Because then you already know that it fits your style, just like Liz was talking about. And if you just joined us, because I've seen a few people kind of coming in, I am going to be sending out the replay. I'm going to be putting together a PDF with all of these points down. And I might even give you guys a split sheet, because as we've talked about it, split sheets are where you decide who owns what, which is really good to have at the end of your session, to write down, hey, you did half of the writing and I did, half of the production, or 70-30. It's good to have those just kind of in place. So I'll probably send all of that. Thank you so much, Liz. I'm glad that I just always talking to you is a pleasure. I've always spoken really highly of you as a person, as a musician, as a hustler. I just have so much respect for you. So thank you for being here. And
of course.
Yeah, and everyone's saying thank you. I'm not sure if you can see the chat box. Everyone's saying,
I see you popping up. It's so nice. Thanks for all your great questions and for listening to me ramble. I hope some of it was helpful. And yeah, that's great. If you the kind of last thing that I would say is like, if you see someone who has the career that you want, like see what they're doing. Like, oh, that person, like, oh, I want to be like Liz and I want to get all these placements in TV. Check out what not my Instagram, because I don't post ever, but like on my link in my Instagram, it leads you to a link tree. What do I have on my link tree? That's like the fastest way for me to like show the music supervisor what I can do or what I can do, whatever. So find who's doing what you want to do and study what's working for them.
That's great. That's what I've always shared with everybody. It's like really learn from the people who are already doing what you want to do. So that's perfect that you closed with that. So thank you, Liz. And thank you again, everybody. I'll be sending all this out. I'll send you the replay as well, Liz. And I really appreciate everybody's questions and for everybody being so awesome. So everybody say bye to Liz. Say thank you. Give everyone wave if you're on the screen.
Bye, everyone.
All right, everybody. Hope you all have a great week, and I'll be sending out the replay very soon. All right, bye, everyone. Thank you, Liz.